Success is a game of discipline. It's not just about what you do, it's about what you refuse to do. That's a principle I've seen time and again with the high achievers I've had the privilege to work with and learn from over the years. It's not just the habits they've developed, it's the distractions, the bad choices, and the excuses they've rejected. That's where the magic lies. Now, here's what I want you to understand. Success isn't reserved for the lucky or the gifted. No, it's available to anyone willing to follow the principles. But here's the catch. Success demands clarity and focus. It demands that you not only choose what to pursue, but also what to avoid. Successful people don't spread themselves thin. They don't waste their energy on things that don't move the needle. They've learned to steer clear of behaviors and mindsets that hold them back. This evening, I'm not going to talk about what successful people do. That's a topic you've heard before, right? What's far less discussed, but equally powerful, is what successful people never do. The pitfalls they avoid, the traps they recognize, and the time-wasting activities they refuse to entertain. These things are just as important, if not more so, than the habits they build. Why? Because success is as much about elimination as it is about addition. So I want you to think about your own life as we go through this. Be honest with yourself. Are there habits, patterns, or choices you've made that might be holding you back? Because here's the deal. The first step to success is awareness. You can't fix what you won't face. And once you face it, you can change it. We're going to cover 12 things that successful people never do. 12 things they consciously avoid, reject, or eliminate. As I go through each one, I want you to reflect on your own experience. Are you guilty of any of these? Are you ready to make a change? Because when you stop doing these things, you open the door to new possibilities. You free yourself to focus on what truly matters. So the first thing successful people never do, they never let fear control them. Fear is one of the first things that successful people refuse to let control them. Now, we all feel fear. It's as human as breathing. But here's the key. Successful people don't let it dictate their actions. They acknowledge it. They face it, but they don't allow it to take the wheel. That's the difference. Fear isn't an obstacle for them. It's a challenge to be met, a signal that they're stepping into something new and worthwhile. Think about it. How often has fear held you back? Maybe you had an idea you wanted to act on, but fear whispered, what if you fail? What if you look foolish? What if it doesn't work out? That whisper can be enough to stop most people in their tracks. But successful people, they push past that whisper. They know that fear is temporary, but regret lasts a lifetime. Now, don't get me wrong. It's not about being fearless. Nobody is fearless. Even the most successful people feel fear, but they've learned to act in spite of it. That's what courage is. It's not the absence of fear. It's moving forward even when fear is present. And the amazing thing about courage, the more you practice it, the stronger it gets. Every time you take a step despite being afraid, you weaken fear's grip on you. So when fear strikes, break it down. Ask yourself what you're really afraid of. Is it failure? Is it judgment? Is it the unknown? Once you identify the fear, it becomes more manageable. Then take action, any action, no matter how small. Because action is the antidote to fear. It's like flipping on a light switch in a dark room. The fear might still be there, but it's no longer paralyzing. Fear, at its core, is just a thought, a projection of what might go wrong. But what if you shifted that thought? What if instead of asking what happens if you fail, you started asking what if you succeed? Successful people make this shift. They choose to focus on the opportunity rather than the obstacle, the reward rather than the risk. It's not about ignoring the possibility of failure. It's about refusing to let that possibility define your choices. Ask yourself, what's the fear that's been holding you back? Be honest with yourself. Write it down if you need to. Then ask yourself what the first step is that you can take to confront this fear today. Because here's the truth. Fear only has the power you give it. The moment you face it head on, it starts to lose its strength. This is what successful people understand, and it's why they refuse to let fear control them. They know that fear is simply part of the journey, not the destination. It's a challenge to overcome, not a reason to stop. And when they move through fear, they discover something incredible on the other side: growth, confidence, and the life they were meant to live. So, successful people have learned to keep fear in check. But here's what else they've learned. They've learned to develop a strong stance against excuses. Excuses are another thing successful people never allow to take root in their lives. Now, excuses are tempting, aren't they? They give us an easy out, a way to explain away our failures or justify why we didn't follow through. I didn't have enough time. The circumstances weren't right. It's not my fault. But here's the truth. Successful people don't buy into excuses. They reject them outright. They know that excuses might feel comforting in the moment, but they're ultimately destructive. Why? Because every excuse robs you of your power. When you blame circumstances, other people, or bad luck, you're saying that you're not in control. And that is the fastest way to lose your momentum. Successful people take the opposite approach. They take responsibility, full responsibility, for their actions and their outcomes. Even when things go wrong, they ask what they could have done differently. What's within their control? That shift in mindset makes all the difference. Successful people understand that excuses waste time. Think about it. How much energy do we spend justifying why something didn't happen? All that energy could be used to fix the problem, find a solution, or take the next step. But when you get caught up in excuses, you're stuck in the past, rehashing what went wrong instead of focusing on what's next. There's another layer to this that I had to learn early on. Excuses can become a habit. The more you use them, the easier it gets to fall back on them. But successful people break that habit early. They train themselves to replace excuses with action. If something doesn't go as planned, they don't waste time pointing fingers. They ask what the next step is. They ask how they can course correct. That mindset keeps them moving forward, no matter what obstacles arise. Here's a tough question that you got to ask yourself at some point. Have you been making excuses in your life? Be honest. Whatever it is, I want you to challenge it. Ask yourself, is the excuse really valid? Or is it just fear in disguise? Because that's often what excuses are, a way to avoid discomfort, risk, or effort. Successful people don't let the excuses of others derail them. They surround themselves with people who take ownership, people who inspire and challenge them. If they're around someone who constantly makes excuses, they don't absorb that energy. They set boundaries, staying focused on their own path. So how do you eliminate excuses from your life? It starts with awareness. Pay attention to the language you use. Are you saying things like, I can't because of this, or if only I had that? Those are red flags. The next step is to flip the script. Instead of saying, I can't, ask yourself, how can I? Instead of focusing on obstacles, focus on solutions. It's a simple shift, but it's incredibly powerful. Remember, excuses might explain why you're not where you want to be, but they'll never get you where you want to go. Taking responsibility, on the other hand, puts you back in the driver's seat. It gives you the power to change, to grow, to move forward. And that's exactly what successful people do. They own their journey. every step of the way. Next, the third thing successful people never do. They never lose focus. Focus is the cornerstone of progress. Successful people understand this deeply. They know that their energy, their time, and their attention are limited resources, and they guard them fiercely. They don't let themselves get pulled in every direction. They don't allow distractions to scatter their efforts. Instead, they choose what matters most and focus on it with relentless determination. How often do you find yourself starting one task only to jump to another before finishing the first? Maybe you're in the middle of working on a goal, but a phone call or some other idea pulls you off track. That's normal, but it's one of the biggest obstacles to success. Because every time you lose focus, you lose momentum. And momentum is what turns small efforts into big results. The secret is focus. Successful people choose their priorities carefully. And once they've chosen, they commit. They say no to distractions, even to good opportunities, because they know that not everything deserves their attention. They don't confuse being busy with being productive. They understand that real progress comes from concentrated effort on the things that truly matter. Here's the key. You have to watch out for distractions. They're everywhere, aren't they? They come in the form of interruptions, urgent but unimportant tasks, or even your own wandering thoughts. Successful people don't let distractions derail them. They've learned to say no to others and to themselves. They set boundaries. They schedule time for deep focused work, and they protect that time as if their success depends on it. Because it does. Here's another thing successful people do. They create clarity. Focus is impossible if you don't know what you're aiming for. That's why they define their goals with precision. They don't just say they want to be successful or they want to make more money. They set specific, measurable targets, and they break those targets into actionable steps. When you're clear about what you want, staying focused becomes much easier. Another common trap is multitasking. Now, multitasking might feel productive, but it's not. Trying to do multiple things at once actually reduces efficiency and increases mistakes. Successful people know this. They focus on one thing at a time, giving it their full attention before moving on to the next. That's how they produce work of the highest quality and maintain their momentum. But focus isn't just about cutting out distractions. It's about managing your energy. Successful people understand that focus requires stamina, and stamina requires self-care. They don't burn the candle at both ends. They take care of their health, get enough rest, and build routines that support sustained focus. They know that a tired mind is a distracted mind, so they make choices that keep them sharp. Ask yourself, what's pulling at your attention right now? Is it something that truly matters, or is it a distraction in disguise? Are you saying yes to things that don't align with your goals? If so, it's time to reevaluate. Start by identifying your top priorities. Those few things that will have the biggest impact on your success. Then, eliminate or delegate anything that doesn't fit. Remember, focus isn't just about doing more. It's about doing less, better. It's about choosing quality over quantity, depth over breadth. That's how successful people make progress. They stay locked in on what matters day in and day out until the results come. Next, the fourth thing successful people never do. They never dwell on the past. The past is a powerful teacher, but successful people know it's not a place to live. They never dwell on it. Whether it's a failure that stings or a victory that makes them a little too comfortable, they don't let the past define their present or dictate their future. They treat the past as a lesson, a chapter that's already been written, not as a script they're bound to repeat. Think about it. How often do we replay the same memories over and over, wishing we could go back and change something? Maybe it's an opportunity we missed, or a mistake that still haunts us. Or on the flip side, maybe we keep clinging to a past success, telling ourselves that we've already done something great, so we don't need to do more. Both are traps, and successful people don't fall into them. Now let's be clear. Successful people don't ignore the past. They reflect on it. They learn from it, but they don't linger there. They don't let it weigh them down like an anchor. Instead, they treat it like a compass, using the lessons they've learned to guide their next steps. The difference is in the mindset. Instead of saying they can't because they failed, they say they learned because they failed. Dwelling on the past isn't just about mistakes, though. Sometimes it's about clinging to past success. How many people do you know who are still talking about what they accomplished 10, 20, 30 years ago? It's as if they've paused their lives, stuck in that one moment of glory. But successful people know that yesterday's victories don't guarantee tomorrow's progress. They stay hungry. They celebrate their wins. Yes, but then they move on to the next challenge. They're always asking, what's next? So tell me, are you carrying something from the past that's holding you back? Whatever it is, I want you to ask yourself, is this helping me or is it holding me hostage? Because the truth is, the longer you hold on to the past, the less room you have for the future. Successful people understand that letting go of the past often requires forgiveness, not just of others, but of themselves. They don't keep punishing themselves for mistakes they've already made. They learn from those mistakes, make amends if necessary, and move forward. Because here's the thing, self-forgiveness isn't about letting yourself off the hook. It's about freeing yourself to grow. Another key to letting go of the past is shifting your focus to the present. The present moment is the only place where you have any real power. It's where decisions are made, actions are taken, and progress is built. Successful people stay rooted in the present, using what they've learned from the past to make better choices today. They don't get stuck replaying old memories. They're too busy creating new ones. Here's what you do. Take a few moments to think about one thing from your past that's been weighing you down. Write it down on a piece of paper. Then ask yourself, what lesson can I take from this? Write that lesson down too. Now here's the important part. Let the rest go. Tear up the paper, burn it, do whatever you need to do to symbolize that you're releasing it. It's a small act, but it can be incredibly freeing. The past is behind you for a reason. It's meant to teach you, not to trap you. Successful people know this, and they make the choice every day to move forward. They don't let yesterday's mistakes or triumphs define today's possibilities. So master the art of letting go, but you must be equally skilled at guarding your energy, and that's a big part of number 5. The fifth thing successful people never do. They never waste time on negativity. Negativity is one of the biggest energy drains in life, and successful people don't waste their time or energy on it. They recognize negativity for what it is, a trap that pulls you away from your goals, clouds your judgment, and drains your enthusiasm. Whether it comes from toxic people or internal habits, negativity is something they refuse to entertain. Now let's be clear. Successful people aren't immune to negative situations or thoughts. They face challenges like everyone else, but the difference lies in their response. They choose not to dwell on problems or let negativity linger. Instead, they focus on finding solutions, seeking lessons, and maintaining a positive outlook. How often do we find ourselves in conversations that revolve around complaints, gossip, or criticism? It might feel harmless at first, but over time, It eats away at your motivation and fills your mind with doubts. Successful people avoid these traps. They don't indulge in blame games or gossip sessions because they know that negativity only breeds more negativity. They choose conversations that uplift, inspire, and challenge them to think bigger. Negativity isn't just external, though. One of the most damaging forms is the kind that comes from within, your own self-talk. That little voice in your head that says you're not good enough or things will never work out. Successful people are vigilant about managing their inner dialogue. When negative thoughts arise, they challenge them. They don't let those thoughts spiral into limiting beliefs. Instead, they replace them with affirmations of what's possible. They train their minds to focus on their strengths, their progress, and their potential. Here's a question to ask yourself. How do you handle negativity when it shows up in your life? Do you let it take over, or do you address it and move on? Successful people have developed the habit of reframing negative situations. When something goes wrong, they don't ask, why me? They ask, what can I learn from this? How can I grow? That simple shift in perspective transforms negativity into an opportunity for growth. I want you to take inventory of your life. Where is negativity showing up? Is it in your environment, your relationships, or your own thoughts? Identify it, confront it, and replace it with something positive. Remember, negativity might knock on your door, but you don't have to invite it in. Successful people know this, and it's one of the reasons they can stay focused and energized. Next, successful people never compare themselves to others. Comparing yourself to others is one of the most toxic habits you can develop, and successful people simply don't do it. They understand that comparison is a thief. It steals your joy, your confidence, and your focus. Instead of looking at what others are doing, they concentrate on their own journey, their own progress, and their own goals. They know that the only person they're in competition with is the person they were yesterday. Now let's face it, the temptation to compare is everywhere. We see someone achieving success in an area where we're struggling, and it stirs up feelings of inadequacy. We wonder, why are they so far ahead? What are we doing wrong? But here's the thing. Comparison gives you an incomplete picture. You see someone's highlight reel, not their behind-the-scenes struggles. Successful people know this, and they refuse to let surface-level comparisons distract them from their purpose. Here's what successful people understand. Everyone's journey is different. Some people hit their stride early, while others take longer to find their footing. But what matters isn't how quickly you get there. It's that you keep moving forward. Comparing your progress to someone else's is like running a marathon and worrying about the person in the next lane. It's a distraction that slows you down. But there's a deeper issue with comparison. It often stems from a scarcity mindset. It's the belief that someone else's success takes away from your own. But successful people live with an abundance mindset. They know there's plenty of opportunity to go around. Just because someone else is winning doesn't mean you're losing. In fact, they celebrate the success of others, knowing that it's proof of what's possible. If someone else can do it, so can you. Have you ever caught yourself feeling envious of someone else's success? Be honest. It's human nature to feel that way sometimes. But the key is to use that feeling as fuel, not as a roadblock. Instead of letting it discourage you, let it inspire you. Ask yourself, what can I learn from their success? How can I apply it to my own journey? That shift in perspective turns comparison into motivation. Another reason successful people avoid comparison is because it wastes valuable time and energy. Every minute you spend worrying about someone else's achievements is a minute you're not working on your own. Successful people are laser focused on their goals. They don't have time to compare because they're too busy creating, building, and growing. Because this stuff can really mess you up in terms of how you look at yourself, your self-worth. When you tie your sense of value to how you measure up against others, you're setting yourself up for a roller coaster of emotions. If you're ahead, you feel great. If you're behind, you feel terrible. But successful people don't let external comparisons dictate their self-worth. They measure themselves against their own potential, their own values, and their own progress. That's the only comparison that truly matters. Here's what I want you to do. The next time you catch yourself comparing, pause and redirect your focus. Ask yourself, what are you proud of in your own journey? What progress have you made? Write it down. Celebrate your wins, no matter how small they might seem. When you shift your focus to gratitude and self-reflection, comparison starts to lose its power. Remember, success isn't a race. It's a personal journey. And the only way to win is to stay true to your path. Successful people know this, and it's why they invest their energy in growth rather than comparison. So avoid the trap of comparison. But here's something else that you need to learn to do. It's number 7. Never let your emotions control you. Emotional control is a skill that successful people master. They understand that emotions can be powerful drivers, but if left unchecked, they can derail progress. Successful people never let their emotions control their decisions or dictate their actions. Instead, they learn to manage their feelings in a way that keeps them moving forward, no matter the circumstances. Here's the thing about emotions. They're natural. We all feel anger, frustration, disappointment, and even doubt from time to time. But here's the difference. Successful people don't let those feelings linger. They don't allow a bad moment to turn into a bad day or a bad decision. They've trained themselves to step back, assess the situation, and respond rather than react. One of the best ways to manage emotions is to create space between the stimulus and your response. When something triggers a strong emotional reaction, take a moment to breathe, reflect, and ask yourself a few key questions. What's really going on here? Is this worth your energy? How can you respond in a way that aligns with your goals? That pause can make all the difference. It shifts you from being reactive to being intentional. You see, successful people are resilient. They don't let setbacks or failures crush their spirit. Instead, they use those experiences as fuel to keep going. Resilience is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. And one of the best ways to build resilience is by changing the way you view challenges. Instead of seeing them as obstacles, successful people see them as opportunities to grow, learn, and improve. How do you typically respond when things don't go your way? Do you let frustration take over, or do you pause and regroup? If you find yourself getting caught up in negative emotions, take a step back and remind yourself of the bigger picture. Successful people don't let temporary emotions distract them from their long-term vision. They stay focused on what really matters. And emotions are contagious. If you let your frustration show, it can spread to those around you, your team, your family, your colleagues. Successful people are mindful of the energy they bring into a situation. They lead with calmness, clarity, and confidence, even when things are tough. That kind of emotional control inspires trust and respect, which are essential for building strong relationships. But controlling emotions doesn't mean suppressing them. Successful people don't bottle up their feelings or pretend they don't exist. Instead, they acknowledge their emotions, process them, and channel them in productive ways. Emotions are information, and successful people use that information to make better decisions. Here's what you do. The next time you feel a strong emotion rising, pause and name it. Tell yourself that you're feeling frustrated or you're feeling anxious. Naming the emotion helps you separate yourself from it. Once you've done that, ask yourself what the best way to handle it would be. That simple practice can transform the way you respond to challenges. Successful people know that emotions are a part of life, but they don't have to rule your life. They've learned to master their emotions so that their emotions don't master them. That's why they're able to navigate tough situations with grace and keep moving toward their goals, no matter what. Managing emotions is critical. Next, this may be the most important one yet. The 8th thing that successful people never do. They never waste their time. Time is one of the most precious resources we have, and successful people understand this better than anyone. They never waste their time on meaningless activities or unproductive habits. They know that every minute spent on something that doesn't move them closer to their goals is a minute they can never get back. Time, once lost, is gone forever. That's why they guard it so carefully. How often do you find yourself asking where the day went or thinking you didn't have enough time to get everything done? It's a common feeling. But the truth is, it's not about how much time you have. It's about how you use it. Successful people don't have more hours in the day than anyone else, but they make those hours count. They prioritize, they plan, and they focus on what matters most. One way successful people avoid wasting time is by saying no. They don't feel the need to say yes to every request, invitation, or opportunity that comes their way. They're selective because they know that every yes comes with a cost. If they say yes to something that doesn't align with their goals, they're saying no to something that does. That clarity allows them to focus on what truly matters. They don't put off important tasks, hoping they'll feel more motivated later. They understand that waiting for the perfect moment is just another form of delay. Instead, they take action, even if it's a small step. They know that momentum builds through movement, not through waiting. And here's a big trap that a lot of people fall into: perfectionism. Now, striving for excellence is one thing, but perfectionism, that's a different story. Perfectionism can paralyze you, keeping you stuck in endless cycles of tweaking and revising. Successful people don't aim for perfection. They aim for progress. They get the work done, learn from it, and improve as they go. Ask yourself, how much of your time is spent on activities that truly matter? Be honest. Are you prioritizing the things that move you closer to your goals, or are you getting sidetracked by distractions, interruptions, or low-value tasks? Successful people take the time to reflect on how they're spending their days. They identify what's working and what's not, and they make adjustments to stay on track. They understand the power of planning. Successful people don't start their day without a plan. They set clear priorities, block out time for deep work, and create a roadmap for what they want to accomplish. This doesn't mean they never deviate from the plan. Life happens after all. But having a plan gives them a framework to stay focused and make the most of their time. Another thing they do, they respect their time by eliminating distractions. They set boundaries with their time, protecting it like the valuable resource it is. If something doesn't serve their goals or their well-being, they let it go. So here's what you do. At the end of each day, take 5 minutes to reflect on how you spent your time. Did your actions align with your priorities? If not, what adjustments can you make tomorrow? Over time, this simple habit will help you become more intentional and more effective with how you use your time. Successful people know that time is their most valuable currency. They invest it wisely, and as a result, they achieve more in a day than most people do in a week. They don't waste it, they don't squander it, and they certainly don't let it slip through their fingers unnoticed. Next. And if I sound like a broken record, that's because you need to hear this. You need to hear it over and over and over until you understand it, live it, breathe it. Number 9, never surround yourself with toxic influences. Successful people are incredibly intentional about the company they keep. They understand that the people around them have a profound influence on their mindset, energy, and direction. That's why they never surround themselves with toxic influences. Successful people simply don't allow those dynamics to take root in their lives. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. The attitudes, habits, and mindsets of the people around you rub off over time. If you spend your days with people who complain, gossip, or wallow in self-pity, it's only a matter of time before their negativity seeps into your thinking. Successful people are keenly aware of this, so they make a conscious effort to surround themselves with individuals who uplift, inspire, and challenge them to grow. Now, don't get me wrong. This doesn't mean successful people are harsh or dismissive. They don't cut people off without thought or compassion, but they do set boundaries. They know that their time, energy, and focus are too valuable to be drained by toxic relationships. If someone in their life is consistently negative or undermining their goals, they limit their exposure to that person. Instead, they seek out relationships that align with their values and vision. Here's the thing about toxic influences. They're not always obvious. Sometimes they come in the form of well-meaning friends or family members who think they're protecting you by pointing out every potential risk or flaw. Other times, they're people who are stuck in their own negativity and unintentionally pull you into it. Successful people have developed the awareness to recognize these patterns and the courage to address them. You need to ask yourself, who are the key people in your life right now? Are they lifting you up or pulling you down? Are they encouraging your growth or keeping you stuck? These are tough questions, but they're worth asking. Because the truth is, you can't afford to carry the weight of toxic relationships if you want to reach your full potential. And don't just avoid toxic relationships. Do your best to build positive ones. It goes a long way. Successful people know this. They surround themselves with mentors, peers, and friends who share their values and inspire them to be better. They look for people who challenge them to think bigger, work harder, and dream bolder. These relationships are like fuel, propelling them forward when the journey gets tough. This doesn't mean every relationship in your life needs to be transactional or tied to your goals. Successful people value genuine connections and friendships, but even in their personal relationships, they prioritize kindness, mutual respect, and shared values. They know that life is too short to spend it with people who don't add joy, encouragement, or meaning to their journey. Here's what I want you to do as soon as you get a chance. Take a few minutes to think about your inner circle. Write down the names of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Then ask yourself, how do these people influence me? Do they inspire me? Or do they drain me? If there are any relationships that consistently feel toxic or unhelpful, consider setting boundaries. And if your circle could use more positivity, take steps to expand it. Join groups, attend events, or reach out to people you admire. Relationships are an investment, and successful people make sure they're investing wisely. Toxic influences aren't just about people. They can be about environments, habits, or even the media you consume. Successful people are mindful of what they allow into their mental and emotional space. They limit exposure to negative news, unproductive conversations, and anything else that drags them down. Instead, they fill their minds with inspiration, education, and positivity. This commitment to surrounding themselves with the right influences is one of the reasons successful people can maintain their focus, energy, and drive. They don't let toxicity take root in their lives, and they make it a point to cultivate an environment that supports their success. Next, the 10th thing successful people never do. They never stay stagnant. Successful people never allow themselves to stay stagnant. They understand that growth isn't optional. It's essential. The moment you stop growing, you start declining. Life is a constant journey of learning, adapting, and becoming better than you were yesterday. Successful people embrace this truth, and they make personal growth a lifelong priority. Stagnation can be deceptively comfortable. It's easy to settle into routines, stick with what's familiar, and avoid challenges. But that comfort comes at a cost. It keeps you in the same place while the world around you continues to move forward. Successful people refuse to get stuck. They know that if they're not growing, they're falling behind. Successful people are always asking, what's next? They don't settle for what they've already achieved, no matter how impressive it might be. They're constantly looking for ways to improve. They understand that success isn't a destination. It's a journey. Here's the key. You've got to be willing to embrace change. Change can be uncomfortable, even scary, but successful people see it as an opportunity for growth. They adapt to new circumstances, explore new possibilities, and step into the unknown with curiosity and courage. They don't resist change. They lean into it. When was the last time you challenged yourself to do something new? It doesn't have to be a big, dramatic change. The important thing is that you're always growing, always evolving. Successful people understand the power of setting goals. Goals give you a sense of direction and purpose. They keep you focused and motivated, especially during challenging times. But here's the thing. Successful people don't just set goals. They set the right goals. They aim for things that stretch them, inspire them, and align with their values. And once they've achieved a goal, they set a new one. They're never content to rest on their past achievements. One of the biggest obstacles to growth is fear of failure. It's natural to want to avoid mistakes, but successful people see failure as a stepping stone, not a roadblock. They understand that failure is part of the learning process. It's how you gain experience, refine your approach, and get better. Every successful person has failed at some point, but they didn't let it stop them. They used it as fuel to keep moving forward. Here's how you build a growth mindset. Every day, ask yourself, what did I learn today? It doesn't matter if it's a big lesson or a small insight. The act of reflecting on your growth keeps you aware of your progress and reminds you that you're always learning. And it's so important to surround yourself with people who inspire you to stretch beyond your current limits. Growth doesn't happen in isolation. It's a collective process. And finally, successful people make time for growth. They don't wait for inspiration or opportunity to strike. They schedule it into their lives. They treat growth as a priority. Stagnation is the enemy of success, and successful people refuse to let it take hold. They keep moving forward, no matter how small the steps may seem. They stay curious, they stay hungry, and they stay committed to becoming the best version of themselves. Next, the 11th thing successful people never do. They never compromise their values. Successful people never compromise their values. They understand that true success isn't just about what you achieve. It's about how you achieve it. Your values are your foundation, the principles that guide your decisions and define who you are. Compromising those values might bring short-term gains, but it always comes at a long-term cost. Integrity, honesty, and staying true to your beliefs. These are non-negotiables for people who achieve lasting success. They know that cutting corners, bending the truth, or acting against their values might seem like an easy way out, but it's never worth it. Why? Because when you compromise your values, you lose trust in yourself, and others lose trust in you. And trust is one of the most valuable assets you can have. I'm telling you, the world will test you. There will be moments when you're tempted to take the easy road, to do something that goes against your principles for the sake of convenience or gain. But successful people have a clear sense of who they are and what they stand for. They've already decided where their lines are, and they don't cross them, no matter the circumstances. Do you know what your values are? Have you taken the time to define them? It's an important exercise because when you're clear on your values, your decisions become easier. You don't waste time debating or second guessing yourself because you already know what you will and won't do. Successful people understand that values are about more than personal integrity. They're about the example you set for others. Your actions influence those around you. When you stay true to your values, you inspire others to do the same. You create a ripple effect that extends far beyond yourself. But staying true to your values isn't always easy. It takes courage. There will be moments when doing the right thing is harder, slower, or more inconvenient than taking a shortcut. But successful people are willing to take the harder road because they know that true success is built on a foundation of character. Don't get me wrong. Sticking to your values doesn't mean being rigid or inflexible. Successful people understand that growth sometimes requires reevaluating your beliefs and evolving your perspective. But the core principles, the things that define your character, those never waver. Values help you stay focused. When you're clear on what matters most, it's easier to prioritize your time and energy. You don't get distracted by shiny objects or tempted by opportunities that don't align with your purpose. You stay on course because you know exactly where you're headed and what you're willing and not willing to do to get there. Here's something I want you to try. Take some time to write down your top 5 values. These could be things like honesty, respect, perseverance, or generosity. Then, reflect on how well your daily actions align with those values. Are there areas where you've been compromising? If so, make a plan to course correct. Living in alignment with your values isn't just about integrity. It's about peace of mind. When your actions align with your principles, you can move forward with confidence, knowing that you're building success on a solid foundation. Here's another thing about values. They attract like-minded people and opportunities. When you consistently operate from a place of integrity, others notice. The right people and opportunities will gravitate toward you because they trust you and believe in what you stand for. Successful people never compromise their values because they know that real success is about more than results. It's about who you become in the process. It's about building a life and legacy that you're proud of. And that's something no amount of money or accolades can replace. So staying true to your values is critical to success. There's one final thing successful people never do. They never stop believing in their potential. Successful people have an unwavering belief that they are capable of growth, achievement, and making a meaningful impact. Even when the odds are stacked against them, they hold on to that belief because they know it's the foundation of all success. Without it, progress becomes impossible. You see, belief in your potential isn't about arrogance or blind optimism. It's about recognizing that you have the ability to learn, adapt, and improve. Successful people understand that they don't need to have all the answers right now. They just need to believe that they can find them along the way. Tell me, have you ever doubted yourself? That doubt is normal. We all experience it. But successful people don't let it take root. They acknowledge those moments of uncertainty, but they don't let them define their actions. They push forward, even when they don't feel ready, because they trust that they'll figure it out as they go. Successful people understand the power of mindset. They know that your thoughts shape your reality. If you constantly tell yourself that you can't do this or that you're not good enough, those thoughts become self-fulfilling prophecies. But when you choose to believe in your potential, you open the door to possibilities. Your actions start to align with that belief, and over time, you build momentum. Successful people never stop believing in their potential because they understand the value of persistence. They know that success rarely comes quickly or easily. It's a process, and that process requires resilience. There will be setbacks, challenges, and failures along the way, but they don't let those moments shake their belief. They use them as fuel to keep going. Believing in your potential doesn't mean you won't have doubts or fears. It means you choose to move forward despite them. It means you trust that every step you take is bringing you closer to your goals, even if the path isn't always clear. Think about a time when you accomplished something you once thought was impossible. Reflect on that moment and remind yourself that you're capable of more than you sometimes give yourself credit for. Use that as evidence to fuel your belief in your current goals. Successful people protect their belief by surrounding themselves with supportive, encouraging voices. They don't let naysayers or doubters plant seeds of negativity in their minds. They seek out mentors, friends, and communities that reinforce their belief in what's possible. And they remind themselves that belief is a choice. You don't have to wait for external validation to believe in yourself. You can choose to believe right now that you have the potential to grow, succeed, and create the life you want. This belief is what keeps successful people moving forward, no matter what obstacles they face. It's what gives them the courage to dream big, take risks, and persevere through challenges. And it's what ultimately allows them to achieve extraordinary things. Success is not an accident. It's the result of choices, what you do, and just as importantly, what you refuse to do. The most successful people in the world aren't just defined by their achievements. They're defined by their discipline, their clarity, and their commitment to staying true to the principles that guide them. Now, here's what I want you to take away from this. Every single one of these principles is a choice. And that's the beauty of it. No matter where you are in life, no matter what challenges you're facing, you have the power to start making these choices today. You can choose to stop letting fear hold you back. You can choose to take responsibility instead of making excuses. You can choose to focus on what matters. Let go of the past and protect your energy from negativity. Success isn't about perfection. It's about progress. It's about making small, intentional changes that compound over time. You don't have to master all 12 principles at once. Start with one. Ask yourself, what one little thing can you stop doing today that will move you closer to your goals? Then commit to that change. Once it becomes a habit, move on to the next principle. The journey to success isn't a straight line. There will be setbacks, challenges, and moments of doubt. But if you stay true to these principles, if you keep showing up, if you keep believing in your potential, you'll be amazed at what you can achieve. I want to leave you with this thought. Success is not reserved for a select few. It's available to anyone willing to do the work, make the sacrifices, and embrace the process. It's not about luck. It's about choices. And the choices you make today will shape the life you live tomorrow. So today, I want you to reflect on these principles. Carry them with you. Let them guide your decisions, your actions, and your mindset. Because when you start eliminating the things that hold you back, you create space for the things that propel you forward. And that is the secret to a life of success, fulfillment, and purpose.